Hello again, everyone. Ambassador Terry, along with my co-pilot and co-host and author, Henry Wang, and we are in Chapter 8, and that's Developing Sustainable Smart Cities. Henry, Chapter 8, can you believe it? We've been doing all right with this.
Yes, amazing, Terry. And I really enjoy doing these series of important podcasts together with you on my book. And it's amazing that we are now already at chapter 8 and covering the book on the roadmap for sustainable business and net zero carbon emissions, which is really a big challenge for the world at this moment in time, and is enjoying the focus of various country leaders and many countries around the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, ladies and gentlemen, this chapter, Chapter 8, is Sustainable Smart Cities, as you see here. And this is a very exciting chapter for me. Almost all of these are, be truthful with you. That's why I reached out to Henry and said, let's do these lives. But smart cities are a big thing, ladies and gentlemen. And each of you can be part of that. And, it's kind of funny to say, but it's time to really look at it from a reality. And that is, get your kids involved. Get some smart city ideas and bring in the youth. They don't have all the filters of being a grown-up to think about. They can come up with some fabulous ideas that can change the climate in metropolitan areas, urban, suburban, and rural. And it's time for us to listen to them because they're a lot smarter than you think they are. And that's just one place to be. Henry, your thoughts?
I agree with you, Terry. And really, cities and urban cities are becoming really very important in the world. And in as a place to live, the urban migrations has been really accelerating across the world and across. I think some really leading statistics from UN and other leading international agencies have shown that urban populations in the last 5 years have grown by about 400 million. And that's amazing. I mean, that's like the size of America, doubling the size of another America, another United States of America. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's just showing how important the cities are. And also in the COP26, and in the very international COP meetings, the various city leaders have been supporting joint international actions on climate change. And this is very encouraging because, when the cities work together, a lot of amazing things can be done on climate improvements.
Absolutely. I've had some discussions. I'm currently on the global board, both of us are, of United Nations Activists for Climate Change Council out of India. It's very fast, quickly growing to be, it's a major NGO now, and it could be one of the biggest, the 5 biggest in the world very shortly. And a big part of that is India is really leading innovation for urban smart cities. And wake up, America! It's time to start doing that here. Let's tear down some of those 150-year-old train systems and put some smart city work together. We're awful smart people in the world today. Let's stop and focus on what's most important, our grandchildren. Now, I've said this all over the world in many meetings and presentations, but it's just a fact, ladies and gentlemen. For Henry and I, everything we're doing is probably not going to make too much change for him and I, but our grandkids and our great grandkids, they're going to have a world that they can breathe in. Okay. You know, when the ice melts, they estimate a great deal of the urban population of the world, somewhere around 67%, will be directly affected by sea level rises. And we're talking about smart cities, making them cooler so that we use less electrical power and other utilities to, you know, to help control that urbanization. You know, there's a place in Switzerland, for instance, they take lake water and pump it into their central system and cool buildings down with lake water, and then run the lake water back out into the middle of the bottom of the lake and recirculate it again. These are very important. That's true. But you put in a few plants on the outside of your home and on the balcony of your apartments and condos and things like that. They count too. And you know, we're getting real smart with solar power energy film. Okay, you don't have these big things sticking out the side of your building anymore. You can line your windows with solar power and help assist you and your dollar, as well as help the environment. You know, these are just a few things. Henry?
Absolutely. And this is green buildings are now a major international initiative. I think they've agreed in COP26 to establish the World Green Building Council, where they would promote green buildings in smart cities around the world. And I think this is going to be a very major area. We can improve the energy efficiencies of existing buildings and retrofit by retrofitting and improvements to like insulations and heating and cooling system improvements so that they use much less energy. And then we can, like you say, beautify, greenify these buildings, you know, and considering innovative ideas like urban gardens or urban farms and things like that. So these are all very exciting things that we can do together because, you know, it is looking to the future. You know, by 2050, the world population is going to grow to about 9.7 to 10 billion people. And they forecast there will be at least 50 to 100 mega cities around the world. So anything we can do to improve energy efficiencies and to promote green energy transitions in buildings and in the cities is going to be very important as part of the climate solution globally.
Absolutely. All you folks in government out there is listening to this recording. Thank you very much. Start speaking up, okay? Mandating building codes to be green is no longer an option to be thought about. It's you got to make it so, okay? You have to make it so. There has to be changes. And, you know, I'm often reminded, if you ever been up to the Alps, Italian Alps, Swiss Alps, Austrian Alps, and you see these 100, 150-year-old homes on the side of a mountain, and they have dirt and grass on top of them. Well, it's not an aesthetic situation. It keeps the house cooler in the summertime and warmer in the winter. There's an idea there, okay? And it can be bigger. It could be the whole top of businesses and cities and all that kind of stuff. Okay, we're getting better. We're moving in the right direction. And we'll move faster when you, Mr. and Mrs. Citizen, join Henry and I and start speaking up. The more voices to to be called, the more people can hear them. And that's important. That's important to us. Henry, can you give us some net zero city highlights that over these last years that writing your book you've come across? Because there's some pretty cool innovations there. We've touched on a couple, but there's quite a few. We could spend an hour doing that.
Yes, well, I'm certainly happy to do that. And the very exciting thing is that in the cities, in green cities and smart cities, a lot of city mayors and things like that have got together and formed an international organization called the C40 City Alliance. And they are all passionate about accelerating the clean energy transition. And they are also working very hard together to reduce their carbon emissions. They have ambitious goals to try to reduce half their carbon emissions by 2030, and then to reduce to achieve net zero emissions and carbon neutrality by 2050. So this is all very exciting, but they have a lot of work to do. They need to improve their buildings, to try to transform these buildings to green buildings with clean energy, replace the fossil fuel heating and cooling systems with renewable systems. They need to improve the energy efficiencies by using more insulation and things like that. At the same time, they need to transform their public transport system, buses into zero emission buses and trams. But these are all achievable. Many cities are already introducing electrical buses. And in Hong Kong, we are also introducing electrical buses. These are amazing, and the citizens are proud to love them and proud to ride on them. They treat them like a tourist attraction, which is good. Yeah. But looking ahead, they've demonstrated also hydrogen buses in the Japan Olympics and the Beijing Olympics. And the technologies, and I guess, with more innovations and more improvements, these will become more and more popular. So these are important advances and green transformations that are very exciting green transformations and things like that, which are happening in the cities around the world. And already, some of the cities around the world have been achieving a lot already. Key examples include Copenhagen and the city of Sydney. And Copenhagen has been implementing their green smart city improvements for quite a while, since the last hosted the COP. And they have achieved a lot of carbon emissions and reduced a lot of their greenhouse gas emissions. And, they have improved their houses. There's not a single house with their own chimney in Copenhagen now. All their heating is by district heating, which is much more efficient. And this reduces greenhouse gas emissions. They've promoted cycling. So now cycling is big in Copenhagen, and the Danes love it. And this also created a lot of green jobs as well. So the city has a great revival, and the quality of life, the standard of life has improved. Similarly, also for the city of Sydney in Australia, which they've now replaced fossil fuel and with solar and wind energy. So this is there, and they've reduced their carbon emissions, they reduced their greenhouse gas emissions, and they are on their way to achieving carbon neutrality. So these are real life examples. It proves that, with good leadership, determination, and a good action plan, these can be achieved. Any city in the world can achieve net zero emission and carbon neutrality. And it is really worth going for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're talking about smart cities, ladies and gentlemen. And we appreciate your comments at all times, and we'll get around to them as soon as we can. For those of you who are watching the recording, thanks for doing so. And reach out to us, direct message here on LinkedIn or through YouTube or whatever, and we'd be happy to start a chat with you. And maybe some of you youth out there who may be listening to this have an idea or two that you might want to have a conversation with either or both of us, and maybe we'll get on LinkedIn Live and we'll talk about it. So that's an open invitation that this is more than just a little LinkedIn Live series for two old people to have fun with. We take this seriously, and we would love to have your input for future shows or whatever. And I just wanted to, I even marked it in the book here, International Smart City Carbon Neutrality, some developments. Can you expand on that? You mentioned a little bit about it earlier. I think we're talking about the little stuff. Now let's talk about the big stuff.
Yeah. No, this is very happy to talk about it because this is an important area. Under the Paris Agreement and confirmed in the various COP meetings, including COP26 in Glasgow and also COP27 in Egypt, 100+ countries together with their city leaders all agreed to reach carbon neutrality by 2050. Yeah, for most of the countries. Some other countries have agreed to do that by 2060. Yeah, like China and others. So this is a concrete target that all the cities and the city mayors and all the country leaders have to achieve. And they need to develop their action plans, their individual action plans, and present it at the upcoming COP28 meeting in the UAE for all the experts to review. So this is very, very serious. And many countries and many cities are also working together internationally through different city alliance. A very famous city alliance is C40 cities, started with 40 cities, but now more 100+ cities are involved with different mayors or exchanging ideas, sharing best practices. And, they can, and many cities already has been very successful in their green revolution. And I've talked about that, like they have improved their buildings to be green buildings by improving their energy efficiencies, by replacing the fossil fuel for the heating and cooling with renewable like solar and wind. And this has all been done successfully globally, like in Copenhagen, in Sydney, and in other places around the world. So all the technologies are there, and it's up to the city, municipal government and city mayors to develop their own plans and to implement these. And in many coastal cities, they are really facing a crisis with the global warming, because with global warming is leading to the sea level rising. I mean, in the last 100 years, the sea level has risen by about 20 centimeters. Yeah, these are based on leading international agency data, including AUN and others. But the frightening thing is that you look ahead to 2100, by the end of this century, the sea level will rise by 30 to 100 centimeters, so by 5 times. So a lot of coastal cities may be facing serious risk of flooding. So they have to transform these cities into sponge cities, build up seawall defenses and things like that. And they really faces they have to develop emergency plans to cope with flooding. And, we've seen that in the last few weeks. Cities in China has torrential downpour, which are the highest rainfall in over 100 years. This is amazing. And these are all extreme climate conditions, which has been caused by climate change and global warming. Parts of Beijing and Tianjin are flooded and underwater with many people dead. And these are really very serious climate emergencies that we have all to work together to try to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions and to control the global warming so that, we can reduce these extreme climate incidents happening.
Yeah. I was seeing some video about a month ago, Jakarta, along the waterfront of Jakarta. There are people who can't move. They can't go anywhere. They can't raise their shacks because that's all they are right now is shacks. And they are living in approximately 1 foot of water constant. And they just have to do that because they have no place to go. Well, it's not going to take that much more before the government of Jakarta and everybody's going to have to move them somewhere. Well, where are they going to move them? Indonesia's islands. They're not Australia or whatever. You just can't move them up onto the side of the mountain and wish them well. There's a lot more involved in that. And ladies and gentlemen, we're involved in that too, because those are human beings and we're human beings and we get to reach out to each other. Okay. Yeah. I live on a mountainside. Well, good for me. All right. But my big mouth is shooting off on a regular basis for other people to listen up and let's make this better. We can make it better. We have the technology, we have the mindset, we have everything except the voice of you, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of the people. Politicians, big corporations, everybody listen to the voice of their customers. Why? Because their customers have the money. All right. We all say, well, the big corporations have all the money. Well, if you don't spend your money with that corporation, they don't have all the money and they'll start listening. It wasn't a few decades ago that the world conglomerate Archer Daniels Midland was doing a lot of stuff with GMO farming and serious eradication of insects and stuff. It was causing some big problems. Well, people stopped buying their products. Guess what? They got real. They started making changes. Okay. We can do something. It's real. And it starts with you and I, ladies and gentlemen. It starts with us. Great conversation, my dear, dear friend. We have got a series here that is just unbelievable. I'm going to figure out a way to run it again here in a few months because I think it's that good. And who knows? Maybe somebody will want to talk to us on a podcast or something hint, hint, we're here. So that's it for this week. Any final thoughts, my dear friend?
Thank you, Terry. I really enjoyed our important broadcast. I think we're talking about a very important topic. Climate change is really the one of the biggest challenges and threats to the human race and to the earth. And the UN has just issued a red warning to the world about climate change. And the UN Secretary General has been very, very dramatic. And he's even said global warming is now turning into global boiling. And this is very dramatic, but it's true. I mean, we are now experiencing the highest temperature that's been ever recorded in many countries around the world, in Hong Kong, in US, and other places. This is really, really boiling. In some other places in India, I read it's up to over 50 degrees C. Yeah. And this is unlivable. The human body, I think Harvard and other universities done some amazing work to say that, if ambient temperature rises about 37.6 degrees C, which is the normal temperature of our human body, then it can have serious health effects. Our body will start shutting down to preserve the important organs. So, climate change is now getting very, very serious with these elevated temperatures, rising sea levels, and extreme weather conditions. I think it's high time that we all act together around the world to try to improve the climate and to reduce global warming. And I'm really enjoy talking with you, Terry, and I fully echoed your call for action to people around the world.
Well, thank you, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you too. We'll be around to address your questions and concerns, and certainly reach out to us anytime. We're ready to have some dialogue. Bye for now.